Here we are Thursday
Howdy.
night, 8 o'clock, live
Happy
again
Thursday.
on InfoSec to Insanity. This is episode number, I have no idea,
24. Yes, sir.
How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you? Looks like you got a special guest there with you.
I do. Oscar Minks, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Evan.
Well, this podcast is about leadership. And I figured, I wrote a blog post, last week? Was it this week still? Last week.
It was early this week, I think.
All right. I wrote a blog post, and this is what it is. It's right in front of me right here. Real leadership, get the fuck out of the way.
Fuck out of the way.
Whoa,
Yeah.
you emphasize that word fuck.
Well, I could.
I like to,
Yeah.
I swear, like a military person.
There you go. Like a sailor, but better.
Yeah.
He's a Marine. Did you know that?
I did not. Thanks for your service, Matt.
Yeah.
You don't
No
call them
problem.
Marines. Do you know you don't call Marines former Marines?
They're always a Marine.
Always a Marine.
Yes, sir.
He's still a Marine. He's still serving.
No
Just
one
not
gets it
serving-
unless you're a Marine or part of the Marine family.
That's right.
All the other branches will argue, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So you learned a thing or two about leadership, I assume, in the Marine Corps. And the reason why I wanted
Did.
Oscar to join us is, number one, he's here in Mexico with me. We watched the Wildcats, go Cats, last night. And then he's honestly, he's a humble guy, which makes him also a good leader. But he's one of the best, if not the best leaders I think I've ever met. I've seen him do his work, and I'm like, oh, this guy's going to have some shit to say and share some wisdom with us about leadership.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I really do.
The truth, brother. So, and Matt is like my sidekick, but co-host, like brother. He's one of the most honest people I know.
Yeah.
He's a good cat. You look good today, Matt. Did you shave?
I went to the goatee.
Goatee.
Yeah.
What did you have before?
It was just the full.
Okay.
It looks good, man. You look great.
So for
Yeah.
a while, I didn't have it, and then I went full. I didn't go real long, but then I went back to the goatee. Just whatever, I can't figure it out. Just keep changing it up.
You hear the dogs barking in the back. We've got a whole family downstairs with 5
Nice.
dogs.
We got 5 dogs here.
5 dogs.
Weed.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
'cause-
party.
Yeah, because Rosie, Bug.
Yeah.
That's their dog. They bring him down from Montana. He's from Montana. And then I got my 4 dogs. Marlis is leaving tomorrow for Arizona.
Arizona,
To
too.
bring home another dog.
A terrier.
You guys are
of
getting
sorts.
another one?
Yeah, so that means I'll have 5 dogs. If Rosie's still there, which she will be,
Nice.
we'll have 6 dogs at one time.
Yeah, it's going to be a party, man. Can't wait.
Went fishing today. We went down to, what's it called?
What'd you
Presa
catch?
Cajon de... Presa,
Presa de Cajon.
yeah, something.
Yeah.
It's like a dam that they set up here in Jalisco. It's like an hour and a half away. We drove down there. Nobody on the lake. Beautiful, beautiful lake.
Gorgeous lake. Yeah, it was a pretty big reservoir, too. I was surprised. And we went out there hunting largemouth, some bucket mouth. We didn't catch any today, but that's all right. It was just cool to hit a new spot and go somewhere I've never been before. Got to drive through the jungle. We saw a forest fire, which luckily,
drove through it.
yeah, it was kind of spooky going through that, I'll be honest, because it was just total smoke. We're like, let's keep rolling. And then Evan's like gas lights on in his truck, and we're going 200 miles from home. We made it through, and then thankfully, when we came back through on the other side, it had been contained. So most next, I do have to correct you though, man. I'm not from Montana.
Oh, no, he's from Kentucky.
I live in Montana, right?
Well, from, meaning that's where he came.
Yeah, that guy came from there. Yeah,
He's full blood.
full Kentucky. Yeah, I bleed blue, man. Kentucky until I die, no matter where I live.
Last night so you see the TV behind us. You're going to watch the Wild game here while we're giving this podcast. The Timberwolves play at 9:30, play against the Lakers. But last night we had full house up here watching the Wildcats beat Oklahoma. That was a sweet game.
No, it was a lot of fun, man. Yeah, we got I felt bad. I think Marlis wanted to go to bed, and her bedroom's like right
Yeah,
there.
right there.
And we're over here hooting and hollering and raising hell. Yeah, it was good, man. It was fantastic.
She made it through because then when we went downstairs, she was still up.
Well, I think she had to be. She didn't have a choice to go to sleep with.
Yeah, I didn't ask her that. I probably should have cleared that first. I didn't pay the price today, though. She was nice.
She's in a great mood. She's going to get a new puppy tomorrow.
Yeah.
So who's not happy when they get a new
I think the marriage is still on good terms.
I think she still likes it.
All right.
Un poco.
Poquito. All right. So, Matt, let's talk about leadership. Now, the thing I want to talk about leadership, not only just leadership in general, But for information security people, cybersecurity people, whatever you want to call them, they're few and far between, in my opinion. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on the number of information security people that are in leadership roles, how good they actually are at leading.
That's a great question.
So we can talk about that. We can talk about the podcast or the blog post. For the listeners, the blog post, evanfrancen.com, you'll find it there somewhere. I wrote another blog post like this morning about politics. I triggered somebody.
Boy.
Oh, boy. Of course you did.
I can't imagine why.
Right.
I haven't approved the comment yet because I got them like, well, do I want to respond to this? So I'll probably approve the comment.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Do you want to tell us what it said?
Yeah, somebody from, I guess a reader, a subscriber from Europe, and was like lecturing me on, being American, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's part of the problem about politics is, how it divides us. And like, you don't know, if I'm left, right,
Mm-hmm.
sideways,
No.
I don't fit in a box, but it'll be a good conversation. I'll approve it, and then
I think so.
I'll reply to the reply, and we'll burn down the blog. Anyway, all right. So good leadership. So I gave 4 tips, and we'll talk about those 4 tips. Get your guys' input, and then share other tips if you've got things that you found that have worked well for you, either in a leadership role or something you admired about a leader that you followed. So number 1 is shit rolls uphill. And what I mean by that is at the end of the day, whoever's in the lead is ultimately responsible for everything that team does. That doesn't mean they take credit for all the good shit, but they certainly take the shit for the shit, right? Because shit, like when I say shit, that's not good things, right? Shit, you've seen what shit is,
shit.
right?
It's like shit.
Shit.
Yeah.
So the shit, though, should roll uphill. And I've had an argument about this before with another leader as I was sharing this. He's like, well, it's not. You as a CEO of the company, you're not responsible for making sure there's toilet paper in the bathroom. And I'm like, the fuck I'm not.
Absolutely.
I've delegated that to somebody else to do it. But if there ain't toilet paper in the bathroom and people aren't taking care of it and it comes all the way up to me, I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to own it.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a key fundamental to building trust with the team too. They know that you've always got their back. And for me, it's, my team always knows like, hey, if you fuck up, this isn't just on you, right? I'm going to be there for you. We're going to get through it. And it's, hard. I don't know, say this cautiously because a lot of people won't understand what I mean, but like I encourage my team to take chances and do things when they're working through trying to creatively solve a problem or they identify a potential solution. I see a lot of people that when leaders don't have this mentality, the shit rolls uphill, they get scared, they get stuck in a box. They can't think creatively. And so for me, it's like, hey, if you're going to fuck up, make a me-sized hole in the wall, fuck up big, and know I've got your back and we'll figure this out.
Amen.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like we're all responsible for that.
Well, let me take a minute, too, for people who don't know who Oscar is and the relationship here. Oscar is the president of FRSecure. Right, that's the company I founded in 2008. And I've seen Oscar operate, and I'm going to share stories as we get through the podcast of things that are like, holy shit, man, this guy is the shit. So that's the relationship here. And the cool thing is, I think in leadership, I don't know of anything we don't see eye to eye on, but it might be interesting if we get through this podcast. It's like, no, man, I disagree with you. But
yeah,
all right, fuck, let's hear it. I want to learn.
And it's totally fun.
So Matt, you were going to say something. What you got?
Yeah. Well, first, angry intern's in the house. That dude's dedicated. Thanks for showing up. But I was going to talk about corporate world and kind of my experience, I guess, because it's different. So in the military, you could just tell someone what to do. At least in the Marine Corps, there's like no fucking up. Like you do it the right way. And Oscar, you were just talking about like letting people fail. I see that. I understand it, but I have a hard time because I've already known how like some things are successful, like especially when you're trying to do influence or like build relationships. Like I've seen what works in the current culture. Like I want to steer you that way, but it feels like I'm trying to have too much control and not letting fail. Like I'm wondering how you find a balance there.
There's absolutely got to be structure in that. And, and what I mean is, we're tenured. We've been through this before. And so I can only guide you to a point. And I'm talking more in this like creative space. And I think a lot of what the work that we do now, specifically if I'm talking about our technical roles, right? And I'm talking about like penetration testing, or I'm talking about, instant response. If you try to operate within this box of my experience and our policies and, that we've created, our procedures that we've created, like those things can become inundated. They can become old very quickly, right? And then a lot of times we have to understand too that we are consistently seeing new challenges we've never seen before. And so when we get to that space, it's more of, if you operate in this environment where people are scared of making a mistake or they're scared of fucking up, when they get to this unknown and somewhere they've never been before, they don't know how to operate because there's no procedure for it, right? And so I think having the procedure and the mode of operation is really important. And that's, what you're alluding to, Matt, is like sharing our experiences and what we know because we've been there. We build that trust. I think you can build that trust with your team, but I never want to create this space where people just kind of encounter a mental block because they don't know what to do and they need someone to procedurally tell them, like, go figure it out. But and also in the same context, it's not just limited to the technical space. It's also like, if you got an idea, for something that you think could be great, if you got an idea for something that positively impacts our mission and could enhance our services, like, yeah, let's give it a try. And like, I've seen a lot of ideas that have failed, but at least we gave someone the space to try. And then I see that same person, if they failed, they're more likely to bring you other ideas. And sooner or later, if you just nourish that environment, they're going to have one that hits and have one that works. And so I think you're exactly right, Matt. But I think it's an interesting dance, to be able to provide that framework and support, but also encouraging people.
Like in your own career, have you learned more in your failures or your successes? Yeah,
absolutely.
It's such a learning opportunity. It's how you approach the failure, right? Because
that's the key, is how the person is going to approach it, because you can fail and just not learn from it.
Yeah.
Which is a waste of time. And that's not the kind of failure we're talking about. Most of the failures, it's a calculated risk, right? Our people are smart. You empower them to be smart. They have great ideas. You trust them in the moment. There's the failures that are like malicious or dumb, to be honest. Those kind of failures are different, right? It's the failure where I was trying to do the right thing. I made a mistake or it didn't work out the way I was expecting it to. Well, great. What do we learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
Not only what did you learn from it, but when you're telling me, what can I learn from it? As opposed to, I think there's, in some places, some cultures, some environments, it's you're so afraid to fail. And when you do fail, your leader steps on your neck.
Yeah, they're going to cut your throat and blame everything on you that goes wrong instead of been there to support
and you're never going to innovate. Those companies die.
And two, like, to be fair, I think it is important to say, it's like, and this is what I tell everybody, and I want my people to operate more autonomously and not rely on me as much, right? That's always a goal. And I think we're probably going to talk about that more. But I think there's a limit to the failure too. And it's like, hey, you can fail like 1 or 2 times, but I'm going to give you coaching. I'm going to help you figure this out. We're going to get through this. If it keeps happening, it becomes a problem. But the first couple times, like, that's how we learn. That's how we get better. That's how we, just make progress for ourselves.
Do you think you can step on someone's throat and still coach them up? I always have to balance some military.
There's a time for discipline, man. It's like raising kids. There's a time when your kid makes a mistake. And my dad always said, he was a Marine, right? He passed away a while back. And I've always been grateful for the wisdom he shared with me. One bit of wisdom was, good choices have benefits, bad choices have consequences. And so sometimes it's not like I need to step on your throat. It's more like we're going to live through the consequences together. Right? That's part of the learning process, is sometimes you suffer the consequences. Maybe we miss out on a bonus this year because we're not going to make our revenue goal because we made mistakes. That's a consequence. I'm not stepping on your neck, and we're going to live through it together. But it's like a fatherly love kind of thing.
Yeah, I think this is a great question, Matt. And a lot of it depends on the individual, right? No two people are the same, regardless of the position that they're in. And I think it will work to a point. And so I think that some people need that kick in the ass sometimes. They really do. And maybe not stepping on their neck, but a kick in the ass, right? I think some people need a kick in the ass.
We were using.
Yeah, absolutely. But some people need that, and some people respond really well to that. Others don't. You can revert others from that. But either way, I think there's a difference to like the military life and the civilian life. When you have the ability, it's a free market, you can leave and go somewhere else. And so I've been in those places before where I was dealing with people constantly, like there was a snake in the room, or people were, when shit hit the fan, they're pointing the finger to someone else and trying to, instead of being a teammate and trying to help someone through that. And so what I do, I just go somewhere else. I'm not going to be part of that environment because it's not fulfilling for me. It's not a positive environment to be in. And let's be honest, like, our people are in high demand right now. And if you don't treat your people right and you constantly are beating them down without that positive reinforcement, they're going to get the fuck out of here and go to someone else who's going to treat them.
Well, in the military, it's different, right? I mean, if you don't follow the rules, people die.
Absolutely.
So
there's
it's
real
like,
consequences.
well, there's real consequences in the private sector too, but not that extreme, right?
Yeah. I think it's more immediate in the military sector too. And it's like, not only is there consequences, but it's consequences with the people that you know and love and your brothers and your sisters.
Yeah, you're
right?
like with them there's a different brotherhood there day in, day out versus corporate punch the clock.
Yeah.
Friendship,
absolutely.
So the point, shit flows uphill. I think,
You guys are pretty choppy right now. By the way,
you're pretty choppy too, Matt. I mean, with that new haircut and everything.
the video quality is pretty rough. Just letting you know.
Probably internet. We probably have a whole bunch of people doing internet-y things.
Yeah. Let's
Dreaming.
just tell them to shut it down.
Shut it down?
Shut it down.
Shut what down?
all the shit downstairs.
All the shit? Block everybody? Shit, it's in my phone.
The phone is our camera too. So you guys are just going to have to deal with it, I think.
funny.
You have to use the phone
All right, no worries.
to block everybody else's internet access. I could turn off. That's being streamed right now, behind us.
Yeah. We're fucking ourselves right now.
Shit, we're down 1-0 right
Got all the tech.
Utah's beating us 1-0.
I think though, like, going back to this, like, before we move on, like, the shit flowing uphill, and the shit should flow uphill, but I would ask you guys, I mean, there's always examples too, even besides what we're talking about, like encouraging people to be creative and not having a fear of making mistakes and understanding how to curate this environment, but then, like, also at the same time, it's been there, and having your people's back. And so they know, like, hey, when something goes wrong, like, you're not going to have to deal with this alone. And there's been plenty of times where it's like somebody else has made a mistake in our organization. And for me, it's like, hey, let me have the conversation for you. Let me step in. Let me navigate this and get it back on track. And don't worry, everybody makes mistakes, but I'm here. That's my job, is to be here for you as that last line of defense when everything else fails. And so if I can't do that, then I'm fundamentally failing as a leader.
Yeah. Well, and I read.
Do you feel like you don't want your mistakes to roll uphill? So, like, I want to own my team's stuff, but if I make a mistake, like, I don't want my boss to take accountability for it. That's my shit.
Well, yeah, no, for me, no. I mean, like, in the presidency, it's like,
I mean,
everything is my
you're the
problem
top,
at that point.
but
yeah, like, everything is my duty. And, like, I will say, if I'm thinking about, like, my directors and things like that, or even, other peers on ELT, they hold their own accountability very well, but it's more of this kind of, I don't know, man, it's a very family-like relationship and a camaraderie where it's like, I'm here for you. I'll go into the meeting with you. Let me know how I can help. Let's work together to develop a response plan, and just never even leaving your peers on an island as part of that role. Like, we're all in this together. I don't care who fucked up. At the end of the day, it's an FRSecure fuck up for me. And we all own that. And I'll be the voice for that. And if you want to be in the room and support me with that, that's fine. But you don't have to be.
Well, how many times have we seen in our industry, so in the information security industry, just to set this apart from what we see in other places, there's a breach, big breach, and everybody's pointing fingers at the CISO.
Yeah.
If there is a CISO. And I saw that, a while back, I saw it was a survey, and the question was, who's ultimately responsible for information security within an organization?
You put up the survey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there were 30,000 responses to this survey, and you had 4 choices. It was the CEO, the board of directors, the CISO, and IT director, or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And only 23%. And this was a poll that went out to a security mailing list, right? So it was primarily security people who answered this damn question. Only 23% got it right. The right answer for that is the board of directors, if there is one. If it's not, it'd be CEO, right? It's the top. And that's what I'm talking about, shit flowing uphill. The CISO is not ultimately responsible for information security in an organization. They have 2 jobs, really, if you want to simplify what they do. They consult the business to make good information security risk decisions, and then they implement those risk decisions. That's what they do. So they may be a shitty consultant. Well, then the CEO or the board, whoever's at the top, needs to get a better CISO who's going to give them good risk recommendations. Mm-hmm. And then you implement those damn risk recommendations. That's it. I don't make fucking risk recommendations. I mean, I don't make risk decisions for the business. Now, from a CEO perspective or a board of directors, you can delegate that, but it's really crystal clear on what we're delegating and how we're delegating. And there still has to be a reporting up because you're still ultimately responsible. Even if you delegate it to me, ultimately, it's your shit.
Yeah, you have to be the one to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
Period. Right? Regardless of whose role or responsibility it is. Like you said, like you're the one or they're the ones that are responsible for just accountability.
That frustrates the shit out of me because, number one, our own group, right, our own tribe got it wrong. Only 23%, so 7% think it's us. Well, I'm ultimately responsible for information security in the organization. It's like, oh, shit, we got problems.
It's because they have egos, man. It's all about ego.
Yeah, right.
They want to be they want to be responsible because, like, what I've seen, even leadership in the military, people just want to be yes men. Like, Oscar comes down and says, do this. You're going to do it. That's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to come with an advice or a suggestion or a recommendation and present it up. And then you make a decision and then we carry out. But everyone just wants to take.
Which is, again, that's one of the things we're going to get to. That's shitty leadership. You're in the way. You know, you're letting your pride get in the way. You're taking ownership of things that you shouldn't be taking ownership of. Because especially in a CISO role, you've got to manage up and you've got to manage down, right? You still have probably a team that you need to lead. So the shit does roll uphill to you, meaning my team makes a mistake. One of my guys fucked up, misconfigured something, whatever. I'm going to own that up. The team, they know that they made a mistake. I don't need to beat their ass about it. That's the accountability. I'm going to hold you accountable for it. But, you know, you don't have to worry about what the CEO is going to think or what the board of directors is going to think about you.
Right. You're deflecting
I'll
any
own
sort
that
of shit.
I'll give all right, so I agree with this. Shit always rolls uphill. But a counter to this too, which can lead to poor leadership, is when you continue to let too much shit roll uphill.
Oh, God, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So maybe you have...
Well,
a big red flag,
right?
right?
How many times they make mistake thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And even when I see people at specific levels of, you know, middle management or upper management for me, and if they're constantly escalating things to me and I have a conversation that's like, hey, did you talk to your peers about this? Did you talk to your peers, you know, that you have the problem with? And it's like, well, no, I know they don't want to listen to me. So like, that's just an example, Brian. But like, if it continually comes to me and you let that happen, you just keep enabling this poor behavior while you're limiting the growth of that individual because they're not learning to deal with confrontation or conflict. Right. And so for me, that's a big part. I'll let it roll uphill, but everything I see that rolls to me that doesn't necessarily have to is a coaching opportunity. Hey, let's talk about why you had to come to me and why you didn't feel comfortable talking to your peer in this other department. I've seen this a couple times, and even talking to the other. Let's get in a room and let's all three figure out how we communicate with each other. Because if you're rolling these things up to me, it's just a boomerang. It goes up and it goes back down. We're wasting time, and you're not developing a relationship with each other. You're not developing trust with each other, and nobody's learning to resolve conflict together. So you have to also identify when too much shit's rolling your way and figure out how to slow that down.
Yeah, because you might come to the tough decision that the person you have in that role is the wrong person in that role.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when that's a repetitive thing, and they know it too, right? It's not like it's going to be some kind of surprise to them. And maybe we move you to another spot, you know, whatever. But you can only empower somebody so many times before you realize, like, I've given you every opportunity.
Yeah.
I've empowered you, yet you still defer to me to make these decisions that you should be making. You know, what are we going to do about this?
Right. There has to be a time limit on the opportunity. Going back to, hey, I want you to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. And it's like, you know, I was saying to you, Matt, is the idea, like there's a frequency limit to that. If it continues to happen so many times, then we have another problem. We have to start thinking about, is it the right button, the right seat, is what I always like to say. I think that if someone is dedicated to our mission and they align with my values, they want to be part of this. It's never like you're out the door thing for me. Most of the time it's like, hey, bud, you might be in the wrong seat. Let's figure out your skills. Let's try to find that right.
I always think about pilot when we talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
because Tyler, this is a story. I'll go through it really quick. Tyler is now my son-in-law, but at the time he wasn't. He was, and these are the cool things about, I think, when you are a good leader, you come up with these stories, and it just makes you feel so good to know that how you've empowered somebody and you've seen a success story out of it. So Tyler, we hired, it was like employee number 3 or 4 at FRSecure. And he just had the intangibles, hard worker, man of integrity, dependable, trustworthy, those things you really look for.
A great communicator as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
very compassionate person.
Yeah. I mean, he has all those intangibles, and that's always served us well. And he was working at the time as at a retail.
And he's at a Sprint store, T-Mobile. Yeah.
And he was dating my daughter. And I was like, so that's how I got to meet him. And I was
like, this little shit.
Yeah. So I originally hired him because I thought I needed more security people. But you're in that really early growth stage of the business where you couldn't afford $100,000, $200,000 guy or gal. You had to buy what you could afford. So I was going to train him up. Like, man, he's got all the intangibles, so I'm going to make him a security guy. Plus he's smart. He has some tech skills. Well, it was only like 6 months. And I was like, no, wrong seat. So then we decided, well, he's got those intangibles. So we tried him in sales. Oh my God, that was even worse. He was so afraid to make phone calls in front of everybody. He would go out into the parking lot in his car and make phone calls, cold calls. So it's like, all right, sales ain't going to work. So then we were like, well, how about office manager? I mean, we'll just have him be the guy that goes to Costco, fills the fridge with energy drinks.
Yeah. Puts the toilet paper in the bathroom.
Yep. Builds the cubicles, that kind of stuff. And he did that for a while. And then he kind of moved into project management. And this has been now, 10 years?
11 years.
11 years.
11 years.
And now what's he doing now?
He's a solution architect. Yeah, he's done a great job.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so he went to that. He was a PM for a while, and then he came over, and he was managing the PM team, managed the IR team as a manager. He did learn some technical skills then, but then he's moved over to a solutions architect role, and I don't know if Tyler listens to this, man, but he's like knocking it out of the park. Hey. And I look back, and he's still not a security guy, and he would admit that, but at the end of the day, he's got 10 years. He touched every position in this company. He learned about every role in this company. He learned about all of our products and everything that he can talk about every single thing.
Not our CEO.
Yeah.
The CEO of FRSecure, John Harmon, you're the guy you report to.
Yeah.
I almost fired him.
Yeah.
8 months into the job, we hired him as sales. Again, guy of amazing integrity. I trust the guy with my life. And 8 months in, sales is like the easiest position in a business to measure performance.
Oh, yeah.
Either hit the number or you didn't hit the number.
Yep.
And that's a cold-blooded job. I would never want to do that myself, but he wasn't hitting the number. And it was like 8 months in, we were going to fire him. Last minute, Evan, the sales manager at the time was like, Evan, I think maybe a heart-to-heart with you might help. And so we went to Mocha Monkey, which is this coffee shop in Waconia where we started and everything. We sat down with him, and I'm like, man, here's the deal. We were going to fire you this morning. And you knew that, right? I mean, you could see that coming.
Yeah, Johnson's smart, man. He knew it was coming.
Well, that's another thing about leadership, man. You got to be honest. You got to be trustworthy. You have to be transparent as much as you can. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Like, you're going to get fired. What are we going to do? And, you started talking, and then it came to the point, like, I know why you suck at sales. He's like, why? I go, because you're trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what? I go, it's the security people who sell services, not you. Nobody buys security services from a salesperson. Right. All you need to do is open the door, set up the meeting, bring a security person,
you get someone in,
close the deal. Which now, as we've grown, it's the solutions architects who are now that piece. But he went from there to sales manager. He was one of our best, if not the best ever, solutions architects for a while, moved all throughout the business, right? And then when it came time to promote him to president, which I surprised him, by the way, it was at the Christmas party. Nobody knew it was coming. I didn't tell him. I got up on the table. I got an announcement to make. We just promoting John to president. He's like, what? Yeah. I'm like, well, shit. I suppose, maybe I should have talked to him first. But he took the job, and he was scared shitless. Great leader, though.
Dude, and I love that story about John, and it helps me a lot when I'm dealing with people that are having a hard time, where, there's times I've had to put people on a pip before. You've been in the room with me when you've had, and people I love, people I care about, and people who are great employees, but maybe they're just, in a lull, a bad spot, maybe they're in the wrong seat. And like when you have those reviews with people, it's like, hey, we got to put you on a performance improvement plan, 60 days, it's make it or break it. You got to get your shit together, but I'm giving you that chance. That can be devastating to people, right? And I can see people just really break down internally. But for me, it always flipped that into a positive. Like, first of all, like, look, our president was almost fired. Our CEO was almost fired. There was a time there. And like, if I wanted to fire you, I would have fired you today, but I didn't because I care about you and I believe in you. We just got to figure out how you can serve our mission and let's try to get you back on track. And that is a very powerful message for our own people to understand. It's like, oh, I guess that is true. Our CEO almost got fired. Now he's the CEO. So I can come through this better on the other side. And they all don't make it. Unfortunately, I wish they could. The ones who do, I see a fire in them. I see a motivation in them that I'd never seen before. Yeah, I think so.
And on that not afraid to fail thing, those people are still here. They were failing.
Yeah.
Right. So one of our jobs as leaders is, if you're failing, how do I set up an environment for you to succeed? Maybe it's a different seat. Like you said, maybe your butt's got to be in a different seat, but I want you to succeed. And if I can, there are times in a business when you can't afford to do that, because when you're moving things around, there's some dead weight there, meaning there's no return yet on that investment as you're moving people around. But if you have faith in them, they have faith in themselves. They've got the right support. The payout in terms of just business from return on investment, I mean, have we not gotten the return on investment in John Harmon? Have we not gotten the return on investment with Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've had discussions about, others.
And I don't want to specifically name them. I don't know if they would be comfortable with that, but there's been plenty of others where we've seen that, just that commitment, man, just a commitment.
But shit had to roll uphill enough for us to step in and play, play it out. All right. So the second thing I got is, good leaders, in my opinion, should always be looking for their replacement.
Absolutely.
And this, I don't see this much. Honestly, in our industry, I don't see it in many other businesses.
I think it's what Matt said earlier. It's the ego, man.
Ego, and I think maybe there's a sense of sorry, Matt, just insecurity.
Yeah. And to me, I think the insecurity drives the ego.
So I actually think about it differently. So I have to sit back and think about that perspective, looking for my replacement. I think about, and maybe it's because I'm new to corporate leadership, I think about trying to have the company not need me.
Yeah, that's the next one. That's number 3.
So that first part, I have to think more about. Well, I do want to train and educate. I don't necessarily think about them replacing me, but at the end, I wouldn't really care.
Oh, all right. I think. Yeah, well, it's this feeling like I think the right way to lead is to be selfless about it. Like, I'll be fine, right? As you elevate people, they've said you have to delegate to elevate. That's a saying I've heard before, but there's so much joy in growing and enabling people to be your replacement. In my role being that I can't really be fired, but I don't know what it's like if I could, how this would work. But for me, it means less meetings. It means more freedom. It means more joy in seeing the cool shit that you're doing every time they have a success. It's like a coach, on the sidelines, or the dad in the stands.
Cheerleader. Right.
I'm excited as shit. And I get more excitement, and it's contagious. So I implore leaders that don't do this to try doing this, because there's so much more joy in watching the people I lead succeed than in any success I've ever had myself. There's not a single accomplishment that I've ever had in my career that I'm more proud of than seeing what you did with the technical services team, seeing what you've done so far in the president role, seeing what John Harmon has done as he's navigated that president role. He was scared shitless when he was, called to be president. That shit is like, fuck.
Yeah.
I'll take that shit all day long.
Yeah. To me, it's like one of the greatest rewards to see people grow, mature, be able to grow into those other positions. And for me too, especially, I think you can relate to this with John, and even myself, my relationship with John. I didn't get hired here to try to be the president. I got hired here and I bought in because I just loved what we were doing, and I still
And how were
love
you being
what we're
led
doing.
before? I mean,
Yeah,
you want to share some of that stuff?
that was bullshit. Yeah, we'll get into that. I think we'll get into that for sure. But like to the point though, is some of my favorite things right now is like some of my young leaders I have, and even some of my leaders that's been in that position a few years. When I first met them, it was like, fuck no, I never want to be a leader. I never want to be a leader. And I knew like I could see it in them. They were leaders. They were born to be leaders. People listened to them. They knew how to step up and handle a tough situation. They knew how to confront conflict with, confidence. A lot of C's in that sentence.
Yeah.
And so I seen it in them. And then, fast forward 5-6 years, and I'm talking like some of my directors, some of my managers, those people I had the conversation with, like, no, I'm a hacker, dude. I'm just going to be a hacker. But seeing them not only say when they got the call to action, like, hey, I need you here. And then they go into that call to action, they go into that position and they thrive. And then I have conversations with them and they love it. And it's the same reasons we're talking about, because now they're helping build the next generation.
Man.
And it's, to me, like, there's nothing more rewarding in the world than that. And not just with leaders, even just with, like, for me, like seeing potential in people and identifying that potential. And like, even people that are totally green, when they come into like information security, It's like, you got, like you were talking about, it's like, you got everything else. Let's figure this out for you. And you're going to be a superstar.
Yeah. Cause you have some people on the team who don't want to be leaders.
Yeah. And that's okay.
You know, people like Sean Pollard loves his job right where he's at right now.
Yeah.
He's fucking amazing at it.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, brother. Just keep being awesome at what you're built to be awesome at. And then you got somebody like Megan, who doesn't even know how inspiring her story is.
Yeah.
She came to FRSecure through the CISSP mentor program. She didn't really have any hardcore security experience, came in working as an assessor. Holy shit. She is so amazing. And she doesn't know how amazing she is. And that's one of the issue, when sometimes you have people that just lack the confidence.
Yeah.
How do you build them up? How do I keep talking and speaking life into you? When will you believe
it yourself?
When I tell you that you're great, when will you start to believe in it? Because I'm not telling you just because I'm telling you. I can remember when you started. But it didn't take long before it's like, oh, fuck, this is my replacement. This guy, and I love it. I mean, I want to see him like, boom. And I remember, saying stuff like, and I can't think of the right way to say it because it's not even true when I say you're like the better version of me. You're your own version of you, but you're better than me, which is like awesome. And I remember saying that to you the first few times, like, no. I'm like, you got to believe it, man, because it's fucking true. Less bugs, more features.
I don't know, man. And that's a lot. I mean, to hear. I appreciate you saying
a better
that.
color too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful red.
He's got a better listen.
I got a little sunburn today.
Listen to his accent too. Do you not think barbecue?
No, I appreciate it. But it's honestly, man, like the environment I was in, because where I came from before, I was in a place where I was abused. I was taken advantage of.
The Fortune 500 company, big company.
And so, like, I got fucking burnt, man. And I never felt like, hey, I just wanted to find a security company that I believed in, and I wanted to do security work for people. That's all I wanted to do. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And that's the reason I got into security, is to help people. And so, like, hearing that was always like, fuck off, man. I'm just here to do a job. Kind of like conversations I've had with my replacements eventually, and I know they're going to be. And so I'm thankful that you gave me that opportunity. And for me, it's like, that was inspiring. I learned a very valuable lesson in my growth, and my responsibility now is to continue to share that education and that opportunity. And that's my burden and my responsibility.
He came in to FRSecure with an impossible job, in my opinion.
I didn't know you guys were going to fire my whole fucking team if I didn't do a good job. So I came into a trap and didn't even know it.
You talk about failing, man. We had failed numerous times at this. And it was like, how many more times are we going to fail before we're just going to...
Let me be clear. You never said fire the whole team. It's just, I don't know if this whole pen testing thing's going to work for us.
Exactly.
We would have found a home for them. But I walked into a trap, man. I didn't even know it.
You didn't know it until you...
No, hell no. It was like, we need you to come in and lead our pen testing team, blah, blah, blah. And then a year or two later, when we're kicking ass and having great success, it's like, we were almost done with that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe I didn't want to tell you that at the time anyway, because I didn't want to discourage you.
Sure.
It was just kind of like, see how you can do it.
Yeah.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
Because you came into a really toxic environment, because the previous leader of that team killed it. Honestly, I mean, there was like, I don't know if this can be salvaged. You know what I mean? the people, the highly skilled people that we still had on that team were so disheartened. So, one person in particular, and the fact that you were able to keep him and he's thrived. I mean, the guy is fucking awesome. It's a miracle. I've never seen it happen before like that, because I did it myself. I couldn't get it going.
Yeah, it was just, it's just one bad apple. I mean, that saying. And there was a bad apple there before, and it introduced poison and toxicity into the team. And so, yeah, when I came in, it was rough figuring out and how to navigate those waters. But individually, I knew that everyone, they were in the right seat and they had what it took. And so it became my job to like, hey, first let's get back into this idea of camaraderie. And, if you remember, like one of the first things I did was I fired someone from that team, and because he was poisoning the well. And I can't have that. I want people who are here for the same reasons. We all have to be here for our mission. We all have to be here because we believe in what we're doing. We have to trust each other, and we have to build each other up and be there for each other. And so once I was able to establish the trust, and for me, the trust with me was secondary. Trust each other first.
Yeah.
And you guys, I know I'm new. Like, it'll take you a little time to trust me, and that's fine. I haven't earned your trust. I don't deserve your trust. I don't deserve anyone's trust.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with people about that, with new people I work with. It's like, why don't you trust them? It's like, trust isn't given. Trust is earned. And I'm not an asshole. I'm a pretty positive dude. And I'll still be respectful, but like, to say I trust someone means a lot. It takes a lot of time for me to build that relationship, be in those experiences and those moments with you, and see how you operate when the shit hits the fan. Then I know I can trust you.
Yeah.
But once I built the trust between the team, it was easy after that. And then they trusted me because they loved each other. And
that team fucking thrived. In my opinion, I'm biased. I get it. It's the best team in the industry.
I don't mean to brag. They're fucking.
How many
team ambush.
How many people did we have last year that went to Black Hat?
We had almost, at DEF CON, we had almost 30 people out there.
Yeah. They rent a house out there off the strip.
We're at 2 houses now. We've gotten so big. But we were at houses beside each other. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's 30 people. And this is another a story to just share, like how, could you imagine any other job or any other business or anything in the world where it's like, hey, we're going to have this thing. You guys, we're going to rent 2 houses and we're going to put all 30 of you in it. And you don't have to go, but you can go if you want to go. And we're going to send you here. You're going to live together for a week. We're going to hack shit. We're going to go see some incredible talks and do all these things. And everyone wants to go. And then on top of that, there's like no conflict. There's no drama. Everyone enjoys being with each other. They enjoy the camaraderie. And it really just does feel like a family atmosphere.
I just got an email saying they're taking away our coffee cups.
Matt,
no more free coffee cups, man.
Tell me the cost of those cups. Well, we should get rid of disposables. I don't mean to be the fucking hippie, the hillbilly hippie here. Buy everybody like a, fucking reusable Yeti coffee cup, or like, man, I'll send you guys some coffee cups over.
I don't. It's I have a whole thing about it, but yeah. That's
Another
cool.
day.
It sounds like a fun time out there in Vegas. Are they still having that this year in Vegas? I heard they were like crazy about the whole ransomware
DEFCON?
thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they just moved venues. So before they were like in MGM or Caesar affiliated. And so now they've shifted to like the Las Vegas Convention Center. They're a little less spooky of all the hackers being there. And so, yeah, the show will still go on. And the
it only took
joke
like
is always
20 years for them to figure that shit out. Don't trust us.
The last time I was
Like,
there was Bally's.
Yeah, Bally's was pretty old school. The first one I went to, actually Seth Bowling, who's actually here with us in Mexico today.
Downstairs.
And it was probably close to 20 years ago. And it was one of the old casinos down by Circus. It's tore down now. Riviera, is that what it? Yeah, Riviera, I think, was the first one we went to. And Seth and I were broke, man, going on our own dime. And we were trying to gamble too, or, early 20s, barely getting by. Yeah. We accidentally got even broker while we were out there. Sharing $5 footlongs.
Maybe we could pay for this trip. Oh, shit.
I've never been out there for the craziness.
You should go, man. It's worth going at least one time to. And if you go, Matt, like holler at me. I'll put you in contact with the team.
I can't stand all the salespeople, man. Everybody just wants to
stay away
from Black Hat.
Stay away from Black Hat.
Yeah, don't go to Black Hat. Go to DEF CON. There's no sales there at all.
Yeah, don't go to Black Hat.
if you go to Black Hat, just set up a fake email, man, and give them, bogus information for sure.
Well, and
It
even the
doesn't
talks
stop
at
them from grabbing you when you walk by.
the talks at Black Hat have gone way downhill from the early days.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's
I won't go.
I don't know. I feel like
go to Black.
if I do Black Hat, I like to check out the arsenal and see, because the arsenal is still pretty like grassroots in my opinion, and you can still see some up and coming tools. You can talk to dudes still developing the tools, and I enjoy that. But outside of arsenal, like, yeah, I don't want to talk shit about anything, but it's not my cup of tea.
No, mine neither. All right, so number 2 was always look for your replacement. And I think, and that's a different perspective. I get it. I have to keep myself in check, being somebody that even if I am replaced, I don't have to go look for another job. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to create, certainly at FRSecure and Security Studio and the things we're doing there, that when he finds his replacement, he's got somewhere to go. So that we can
continuity planning, like basically, and having development paths. Yeah,
so I'm trying to think, because that path doesn't exist yet, but you can see how it's starting to form.
Well, I mean, yeah, and like I think about that a lot. I think about it every day. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm in the president's seat now, but that's still my duty to figure out who the next president is. And the reason for me is like, man, I'm the most mission-driven person in the world. I'm here because I believe our industry is broken, and I'm here because I want to make a difference and I want to fix that. And I can't do that if I stay in my seat forever. And so I've got to find someone else that I can trust to take this legacy on. And when they take this legacy on, I know there are other opportunities now for me to go impact the industry in a positive way. And that's what we're working on a lot. Is like, let's identify what those other avenues are. Let's start building those frameworks and structures. And so when the time is right, like, I'm ready to move into whatever the mission calls me to do I don't care about the ego. It's not about the title. I don't give two fucks about the title. Right. I just am here to protect what we have special at FRSecure and keep that intact. And when the mission calls, I want to move on to the next thing, give someone else that opportunity. But I'm still going to keep my eye on it forever, and you will still keep your eye on it forever. And if anybody sways from our core and who we are, we'll step right in and fix that. But if we limit ourselves to being in the same seat forever, how much can I impact? It's very limited to what I can do when there's so many opportunities out there.
It's a huge fucking mission.
And it takes all of us, man. It takes all of us.
All right. So number 3 is that I wrote was, don't be needed, only wanted. And my point here was, as you elevate people, you empower them to do shit. You don't need me to do the shit that you need to do. You already know how to do it. Right. And a lot of times, and if there's a part of, your role, your responsibilities that you don't know how to do, then that's a goal for me. Right. That's a part where I am still needed. I'm going to work on that. And the way I'm going to work on that is to try to give up more stuff, try to empower you to do stuff. And this is a part that I've run into numerous times where people come, they're like, bullshit. I mean, I think people believe that. Like, no, you can make the call on that. You don't need me. And it took a while, like even at FRSecure, like including me in the budget planning, like, you guys know how to do this shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, another really inspiring person for me would be, Meg over at the Academy. She came from K-12 where she was a principal there, and where she was told over and over and over again that she get to make calls, but then always got stepped.
Yeah, she always had her handcuffs on.
Right. And so when she came here, and I'm like, you're empowered. It's yours. You get to choose, you make the decisions. I'm here to support you. If you have questions, if you need advice, just bounce shit off of, I'm your guy for that. And I remember one meeting in particular, we were talking about discounts, when to offer discounts to students of the Academy.
Yeah.
And she asked me, well, when is it okay to give give a discount? And I was like, I don't know. When is it okay to give a discount?
Yeah.
And she's like, you're empowering me. I'm like, yeah, I could give you the answer, but what the hell good is that?
Yeah. And also, that's my version of the answer. I want to hear from you, man. And that, like, it goes back to being a good leader. If I think I'm always fucking right and I know the answer, like, we're going to go in a bad place. Because if you don't allow people to have that opportunity to give you their true opinion, their like authentic and unfiltered opinion, you start getting this filtered bullshit where people try to answer the way they think you want to hear it.
Right. And
then you're limiting their growth, and you're never going to get a true fucking leader. Like, enable the people, and truly enable. And even sometimes goes back to like, I'll disagree. Like, people tell me, like, here's what I think we need to do. hey man, I disagree. Tell me why. And they tell me why. And they make a very good argument for why they believe in this. And it's like, you know what? Let's give it a fucking spin.
That's a really good.
And sometimes it turns out awesome. Sometimes it doesn't. But that's okay when it don't. Then let's go back
to that first thing, right?
Yeah.
About it being okay to fail.
Yeah.
Because I also think, when somebody else brings their perspective, that I learn. I don't know, like going back to even like looking for your replacement. Well, if I was a CISO in an organization, like, what the fuck do I do if somebody takes my job? Well, what's actually going to happen if you've done this before? Because I've seen it happen with good leaders that are CISOs, is you raise them to do your job, and either you go find another job or they do.
Yeah.
Either way,
right.
You benefited.
Yeah, we're making someone else who's going to positively impact this, man.
And you're going to, and that little seed is going to grow over there. And you know what I mean? It's just, that's how it works. But on the not being needed piece, it's you as the leader set the culture of whatever you're leading.
Yeah.
So in a business, the CEO sets the culture for the entire fucking business. And within that, you have to set the culture for your team. And that culture is a culture of empowerment. It's okay to make mistakes. That's the shit flowing uphill. I got you. If you made the wrong call, like if Meg would have said something like, well, we're going to give everybody discounts. Okay. Then it would be, well, explain to me why that's a good idea. And we would have this discussion. Now that would be a mistake, right? But you felt comfortable trying it, I guess.
Yeah.
The benefit for me, I hate meetings.
Yeah. Sure.
I hate meetings. And, on that culture thing, as a CISO previously, I've been called out numerous times for trying to social engineer the whole company. And it's true. I am. I'm trying to get us. Yeah. And so in my company or in my team, I'm trying to social engineer, not for my benefit, but for your benefit, for our benefit, for the mission's benefit. Exactly. So this not being wanted, I don't know if you've noticed that, because I do hate meetings. And a lot of times I get called to meetings. Every time I get called to a meeting, I see it as an opportunity of like, okay, am I needed in this or am I wanted in this? And I want to play it out right. Because if I get invited to a meeting, when I don't think I should have been invited to this meeting, I take the meeting off the rails. Yeah.
I've seen you do it all the fucking time. And I've heard people get aggravated with you about it. And the conversation typically goes back, well, yeah, does he need to be here? You know what I mean? No, he doesn't. But we want you there sometimes. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I know you enough to know like what's going on. And it makes me just giggle and laugh in the background. But I've seen other people, I'm not going to call anyone out.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's so hard to have a meeting with him. It's like, no, it's not. He's got to understand, like, he doesn't need to be here. And that's a play he's making. So I think, too, like, this one is, and I always go back. I'm a big dude that talks about ego a lot, like you brought up. And it's like, your ego's not your ego, man. And the people who feel like they have to be needed all the time, it's the ego getting away. But also, I want to say that with a caveat, too. Like, it is hard. I've seen it. I've felt it. I've been there especially when you're coming from a person of like a technical role into a leadership role, because like your identity is being that technical expert. It's being that hacker. It's been that blue teamer. It's been whoever you are. And then when you shift into this role of being a leader now, suddenly you have to like be okay with the sword getting dull. And that's hard for some people. And I'll take, it's hard for everyone to go through when you go through that. I went through it. I've seen almost leaders go through it. All my peers who became leaders go through that, where it's like, fuck. And two, on the flip side, like we enjoy that, right? We really, really enjoy that. But then I have to think about like, well, where am I needed the most, right? And if it is to be the leader, then that's what I'm going to focus on, being a leader. And so it's okay to let my sword dull, because now I got somebody else who's going to have an even sharper sword than I had before, because we've worked together. They're going to be better than me. And like at this point in my career, I'm 100% okay with that. But like I've got some young leaders right now that are struggling with that, and like coaching them through that. Like it's okay, you can
first step growth thing, yeah. Because it was also another thing that I had to struggle with as I was leading and then moving in another spot, was there came a day when I'm no longer one of the guys. When you walk into the locker room, it gets quiet.
Yeah.
Whereas when you used to walk into the locker room, you were already, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, you were.
And so now there's a respect, there's a reverence, there's that piece. But that was a hard transition, because I really loved being part of the team.
It's like a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah.
You know, and like, I'm sure you feel the same way too. It's like, well, the OGs, we still have that relationship. You know what I mean? Like the people that've been here before, but as you grow and there's new faces that you just didn't have the opportunity to build that same relationship, to know that, like, hey, when I step on the room, man, don't hide your beer. You know what I mean? Like, keep drinking your beer, bro. Like, I don't care. Don't change the way you talk. Don't do any of that. Don't call me fucking sir. You know, don't say what's up. It's fine. And so, like, but I realized for me, it's like, well, the people that I have the relationship, I've had the opportunity to build that relationship with over time, they don't change because they know me at my core. It's more like the new generation that comes in, and like, and for me, like, it can be a little like, oh man, why are you so fucking uptight around me, dude? Right. You know? But then I realized, like, well, we haven't had that formative time. We haven't been in the trenches together. We haven't been through the shit together. And if we were, it would be different. And so it's like, okay, not my show anymore. Someone else's show.
And I think, and I think this right here leads to a lot of the lack of leadership in the information security industry, because we put so much pride, stock in keeping that sword sharp.
Yeah.
Because I know people in our industry, good friends who've been in this industry for a really long time, that they're still elite hacker. That's their mentality. And it's like, dude, you kind of get to this point, it's like, grow the fuck up.
Well, you know,
take all that shit that you learn. I mean, if that's your path, I get it. But you also want to be a leader. You want people to listen to you. You want people to do these things. Because like, even when I was talking to Seth, because I have one-on-ones with you every week, which is like one of my favorite meetings in the entire
me too, man.
week. And I have one-on-ones with Seth because he's growing, mirrored defense, and he's doing a fucking fantastic job there. And we were talking about, because I'm working on this R engine too, right? Trying to figure out the code and shit. And I was saying to him, like, man, fuck, I'm not as good as I used to be. And he's like, come on, you are. And I'm like, no, man, I ain't.
No, I'm okay with that.
Well, I can't hack the shit like I used to be able to hack the shit. Yeah.
Well, and that's a very healthy approach, because I know that we've all seen someone on the flip side that they get into this position and they still just like to pretend they are that person.
It's pretending.
They like to, but when the rubber hits the road and you're in the trenches again for whatever situation that you're in, and you see, like, bro, you're full of shit. Why can't you just, if you can't be honest with yourself, you're never going to be honest with the world. So let's fucking get real right now. Let's set a new baseline and be honest.
And if anything, you're misleading people.
Absolutely.
Because they're buying into the bullshit that you're selling, saying that you know what you know, but you want to be needed so fucking bad that the advice you're giving is bullshit.
Yeah.
And they're going to take that advice and they're going to find out that it's bullshit, but they're going to waste a whole bunch of time and money along the way for your fucking ego.
Yeah. We've seen it through, I think, personal relationships. I'm sure we both have, all the way up through fucking Senate hearings, man.
Oh,
you know? And so it's like
some of the biggest names in this industry. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, you're the fucking expert right now, bro.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I remember the one time, like, it was a few years ago. I'm not going to mention his name, but very well known in our industry. Right?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Almost sort of walks on water in this industry, and he needed some work.
Yeah.
Right. And we had an overflow of work.
Yeah.
Our penetration testing team.
I'm going to get a drink while you tell the story.
Okay. After our penetration testing team, you got to hurry up.
Plausible deniability.
Our penetration testing team at the time, was overbooked. We had, and it's not uncommon for us to be booked out 6 months in advance or something like that. So we're like, we got some overflow. Let's give it to them, And we gave it to them and couldn't get the fucking project done. It was a simple fucking project. I could have done the fucking project, and my sword is dull. My sword is dull. My dick is small. But I could have gotten that damn project done. And so it was like all this talk, and it's like, what the fuck? We wasted so much time. We pissed off, risked pissing off the customer to find out that you're not capable of getting this project done.
And the big kicker to that, to me, is if you were just honest with me in the beginning, I would respect you more than I respect you now. And that's the problem.
Right.
No issue at all. If you're like, bro, I haven't been in the trenches in 5 years right now. I'm rusty as hell. I could try to do this for you. If you need me to help you through it, I'll try my best, but I'm not your dude. But you know what? I bet he knows somebody who is the dude, but I bet
you could have told me.
The ego got in the way a little too much, and he wanted to be needed so bad that he couldn't just pass that on and say, hey, I'm not your guy anymore.
It's so destructive to be like that. It's so destructive to have this constant desire to be needed. Because if you focus on growing other people, what you'll find out is that you're always wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
People reach out to you, not because they need it, because they want it.
Yep.
You know, and it's like we just had a call today before we went out fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lyle, he's been on the podcast before. Lyle calls up. He's like, hey, man, I want some advice on blah, 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 blah. He didn't need it. He could have done fine without it.
Right.
But he wanted it. And that is so much more
healthy.
It's healthy, and it's a lot less pressure for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and doesn't it feel good, though, like with your relationship with Lyle to be there, and kind of like you were talking about with Meg, to be like, I know you want me, and to tell them, but you don't need me. You've got this. And I'm always going to be here for you. I will always be here for anyone who wants my help.
Right.
But I think in probably 90% of those situations, they don't actually, and that's okay. Like, and I think that's part of their own personal journey and their own personal growth and their own validation.
Right.
And so,
and there will be times, man, there are times when you are actually needed. I'm not saying that's bad.
Yeah, for sure.
I never want somebody that does actually need something I have to, I don't want to tell them not to come with me. All I'm saying is that in my mind, that's an opportunity for me to delegate something, because maybe I need to train you a little bit on this thing or whatever. There's always going to be times when you're needed. It's that feeling like I have to be needed that fucks everybody up.
Yeah. I think of like the old school gatekeepers, man. You and I have been in this a long time, and we probably all remember that was like the old curmudgeon dude that was the network engineer, and he'd been in the same role for 15 fucking years, and he thought he was the smartest guy in the world, and he didn't want you to know 1 ounce of what was in his brain.
It's not a network problem. It's a problem with the application, but I'm not going to tell you because I'm the network guy.
I
can see the application layer, but go fuck yourself. Yeah. Gotta love those guys.
Yeah, they're the fucking worst, man. And like, you think about how many young people, like, they're trying to get in this, so they're still influenced by people like that. And like, you know, security or technology. And like, it can be very like derailing for someone who's young and they're lacking confidence, and they still need that validation to be put into that environment where you've got the old curmudgeon who's the fucking gatekeeper, and he wants to be the wizard, and he's got the secrets. Hey, newsflash to everyone listening. There's no fucking wizardry. There's no secrets that you can't learn. You can all figure these things out, you know?
Yeah, social media is making it worse, though, I think, with the influence. Yeah. I mean, I know you guys are hackers, consultants, and pen testers. I'm on the other side, but holy shit, everyone wants to be you, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, and I mean, social media is fucking poison anyway, man. That's why you can't find me on social media anywhere.
Well, that's the thing.
I completely agree.
And the thing I've always asked for the people that want to be you, the first question I always give you back, why? Why do you want to be me?
Yeah.
Well, because blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you what the cost. And if you're willing to pay the cost, you can have me, but why stop there? Why don't you want to be the best? Because you'll never, the fact of the matter is, you'll never be the best pen tester. You'll never be the best CEO. You'll never be the best president. You'll never be the best father. You'll never be the best anything except for the best you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And if you're building your entire model around someone, and so I go back to like, it's, I've heard people like, you know, John Hammond's pretty hot right now, like the YouTube scene and all that. And John Hammond's great. Like, I have nothing bad to say about him. He's an awesome guy. We've done podcasts together. I really like him. But I've heard someone's like, I want to be the next John Hammond. It's like, what is that? Like, what does that fucking mean? You want to do YouTube videos and talk about security? Well, just go fucking do YouTube videos and talk about security. You can do that. Like, but what motivates you? And like, I've talked to people before too. It's like, hey, what do you want to, I want to be a title, a position, a name. And it's like, there's no
purpose there.
What gets you up in the morning, man? Like, what really gets you fucking moving? Let's talk about that. And let's figure out, because if you try to just mimic someone else, you're not operating on passion, it's going to be it's going to be a failure. And you're never going to reach fulfillment.
We talk in our industry, too, about how this imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like imposter syndrome. Well, that's fucking imposter syndrome. Wanting to be somebody else or comparing yourself against somebody else, be the best you can be.
Yeah.
You know what you're good at. You know what you're not good at. And if you don't, spend some time with yourself. Look in the mirror, because that's also going to make you a better leader. Because at the end of the day, the problems as a leader, the place I look first is the mirror.
Yeah.
Before I'm going to pick up that phone and talk to somebody about something that I got a concern about, it's like, wait, what did I do in this? What's my role? Where did I fuck up? Maybe I made the shitty choice. Well, then maybe I need to apologize to my team instead of yell at my team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, there's so much benefit, no matter what level you're at in this industry, of just self-awareness. Stop fucking comparing yourself to somebody. You don't want to be me. I got high blood pressure. I'm overweight. I smoke cigarettes like a fucking smokestack. I'm get tired walking up a damn flight of stairs now. I lost my house growing up. I've had cancer. I'm an alcoholic. I've been through a divorce. You want to go through that shit? Fuck you. Don't go through that shit. Be a better version of you.
Yeah.
And hard work does pay off.
I think it too goes back to what Matt said. I don't know. I think a lot of people that are stuck in that mindset of like wanting to be somebody else, it's just the fucking social media stuff, man. It's just this influencer attitude where we see like it is media overload, especially for our young generation, our young people right now. And they're so fucking confused about who they are and what they want to be. And we're so like, and it's like we're tech people, right? But like I'm very adamant about getting time away from my screen every day. All my screens, my cell phone, my computer, my TV.
The advice I just gave you about not comparing yourself, about focusing on yourself. What does social media do for you?
Yeah, it's your force.
It takes you the other fucking way.
Yeah, and you're force-fed bullshit about other people too. You see a projection of what they want you to see of their life and their job and their roles and all the things they're doing. It's mostly bullshit. And if you're setting yourself up for that, you're setting yourself up for unachievable goals. You're setting yourself up to try to achieve just something that is not in reality.
How's it going to help you in your career? How's it going to help you become a better father? How's it going to make you become a better friend? How's it going to make you become a better grandfather, better anything?
Yeah.
What you come to find out, and I get it, social media itself is very, very addicting. It's super addicting. I mean, they made it that way on purpose, right?
Dude.
Because the more clicks, the more things,
fucking
the
hate
more
that
money.
guy that made the like button. Fuck that guy.
It is wild. Like, so I'm not on any socials.
Fuck, it's 2-0.
And so every now and then I'll get on, like I like Reddit. Okay. Which is different, but I use Reddit more for me, like for news and information feeds than anything. But like, so every now and then, like say it's Saturday morning, man, I got shit to do, it's like, all right, it's a shitty weather day out. I'm going to wake up. I'll pop through like some YouTube shorts or something like that, and it blows my mind. Like I'll sit there and I don't do this very often because of this.
2 hours later, you're like, what the fuck did I just
I'll look
do?
at my clock and it's like, holy fuck, I just wasted 2 hours. Like, where did this go? And what else could I have been doing? Yeah, I don't know. I try to stay away.
It's like a tool like everything else, right? It's what we preach as security people. These are all just tools, right? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the tool. It's how you use the tool. And if you're using it right. So social media, if you're using it responsibly, but it's not to say that you don't use it responsibly, but part of the responsibility is I just don't need that fucking tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't need a bandsaw. I don't do bandsaw-y things,
Yeah.
It's,
I don't know, man. I had a bandsaw once. You can do a lot of cool shit with the bandsaw.
Well, yeah. But the responsible use of social media would be, I have boundaries. I have rules around my use of social media.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm reading things on social media, I can put it in perspective that, this isn't reality. This is one perspective. I can use discernment. I mean, it's a dangerous tool to use if you don't use it right.
Yeah.
Because I see my own daughter who grew up with the TikTok age.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if you let her go, TikTok all day. Wouldn't do a damn thing other than TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Figure out some rules on how to use it. If you use TikTok for some entertainment, once in a while, for an hour.
If I'm using the bathroom,
right?
What else am I going to do? Come on.
Well, you also do need to have, because I told you I started going to see a therapist.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about last week was, I just feel like I need to be providing value. I've always felt like that. I've always felt like I should be doing something.
Yeah.
He's like, it's okay not to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, that's not what makes you valuable.
Yeah.
You doing something all the time, that's not where you find your identity. So on the flip side of that, like, it's okay to just sit and watch a fucking hockey game all night.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is like,
it's okay to sit and watch TikTok all night. If that's going to be your entertainment,
yeah,
that's got its boundaries, right?
So you feel like we're sidetracking, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, you always feel like you have to be providing value.
Yeah.
I think something that's important for everyone to think about is like, A lot of times you get stuck in this mindset that it's providing value is only for others, right? So I would ask you the question, like, how do you provide value to yourself?
Exactly.
Right. And are you giving yourself time?
Right.
Are you loving yourself?
Yeah.
And like,
that has become a lifesaver for me.
That's super important. And like, I think this still ties into being a good leader, because for me, I realize when I get into a position where I am trying to provide too much to everyone else, because I'm a lover, man. I love everyone, and I try to take care of people. And that's part of being a leader, is like really believing and loving and developing an environment where people can be empowered and enabled. And so I give all this energy, and I find myself when I get to this point where like I just get so stressed, and then I don't make clear decisions, and I look back and even the decisions I make can be poor, but then it's like, okay, I give myself that, I contribute to things that are positive for me, and I contribute to myself. And then I become much more efficient. I become much more intelligent in my decisions. I become a much more clear thinker, a more compassionate leader, a better supporter. And so like, that's something that's really important for everyone. And we talk about this a lot. That's one of our values, is we have balance, and we try to like enable this world where your identity isn't only your professional identity, right? And there has to be know yourself, love yourself, do the things to take care of yourself, because if you're not a clear thinker, you're not a positive thinker, you're not going to be a strong contributor anymore. And so like, that's true for all of us. We have to continue to do that.
Yeah, because sometimes I think some of us get anxiety. I do. Sometimes I get anxiety if I go a week and I was busy and I didn't feel like I accomplished anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what did I accomplish this week? Well, not a fucking thing.
I get that every weekend.
And that's what I was talking to my therapist about. He's like, it's okay to go through a week and not accomplish anything. I'm like, what?
No, it's not.
The fuck you talking about? But that's another sidetrack on a leader. So we've get the 3 so far. We got 1 more left, but I want to slide one in the middle there. A good leader also is open to criticism, open to the non-yes men.
Yeah.
So because somebody's telling you something, there's something behind that. There's a reason why you just told me that.
It's how they're experiencing you.
Yeah.
You're projecting
it's this
something
other perspective. Yeah. It's this other perspective. Like Oscar says, I saw that, or I'm concerned about this. It's like, fuck, I know Oscar cares about me because I care about him. There's got to be something to it, man. Tell me more.
Yeah.
The therapist is really helping me with that, because my wife, right? Because you lead sometimes at work, sometimes you lead at home. My wife has put me in that leadership role. I don't know if I earned it, but I'm there. And so she'll share things with me that I don't want to fucking hear. But as a leader, you better be listening.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. I don't know if we're not in a position, this is something that, I can remember learning at a really young age, and I remember being a kid and like criticism was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like as being an athlete, and I was an athlete, played college sports. Even after college, I was a fighter for a long time. I did all these things, but I really, really clearly remember like when I was a kid and like coach, like kind of, kicking my ass a little bit over some stuff and just been so upset, mad about this. And my dad telling me like, I don't know, I was like fucking 10 years old, man. Like if you can't learn like to process constructive criticism, you're going to have a tough life. And so understand that if people are criticizing you and giving you that information, it's because they love you, they care about you, and they want you to be better. And that's something that stuck with me, one of those childhood lessons. And it's like, it's important as a 10-year-old kid. It's important as a 43-year-old man too, to know that like, if somebody's giving you feedback, well, first of all, you should cultivate an environment where people feel safe to give you feedback, even if it's hard feedback. Tell me when I'm fucking up, man. Tell me when I'm failing and I don't see it. Because if you don't, I trust you, like to keep me honest and keep me in line. I'm never going to see that. But then on top of that, you have to accept that even if you completely disagree with what they're saying, in their mind, it's truth. And there's a reason why that's true.
Right.
And either it's right or it's wrong. But let's figure out if it is right, like how we get here and how we fix it. And if it is wrong, let's unpack that and maybe.
And that's the truth, right?
That's
everybody's
what I think the difference
everybody's
is.
Perspective is valid.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an invalid perspective.
No, absolutely not. What were you saying, Matt? Sorry, man.
I think that's what the difference between criticism and feedback is. If like you're giving someone criticism, you're just being a dick. But if you're giving them feedback, it's about your actual perception So like I think you're being like this, I'm experiencing you like this, versus criticism is like, you just fucking suck. You should have caught that. You should be better.
I don't know. I think of criticism, again, going back to the sports analogy, if I'm thinking about like as a baseball player, right? And so it's like, hey, your swing sucks today, and here's why: you're dropping your elbow, you got a hitch, you're not rotating through your hips. Those could all be true, and it is criticism, and it is feedback at the same time. But they could all be very true things that is perceived as criticism. But if the idea is like, if you give criticism without a potential resolve for criticism, that can be a problem. Or if you give criticism without even saying like, hey, you just fucking suck. Like for me, it's like, hey, maybe you're dropping that elbow, you got a hitch in your swing, you're not rotating through your hips. I don't know how to fix it, but let's work together and find someone who can help you fix that. Then it can still be positive, and it is just feedback in a different aspect. But I think if you do offer it, hey, you just fucking suck, that's not constructive. There's a difference between constructive and not constructive.
Well, and then there's boundaries to this too, because my father always taught me, consider the source, right? So criticism from certain sources carries weight with me.
Yeah.
There's plenty of criticism. There's plenty of criticism in the world, and most of it I don't give two shits about.
Yeah.
But my team, meaning my wife, you, friends, there's those circles of people in my life that their criticism carries a hell of a lot of weight. But there's only like maybe 20 people in those circles.
Yeah.
There's 7 billion people in the world. So if somebody on social media wants to criticize me because of whatever, I don't give two fucks about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Consider the source is true too. Like you have to remember, I mean, a different way of thinking about that is everyone speaks from their own experience. So they're feedbacking on you based on what they've gone through.
Yeah,
it might be different than what you're actually going through right now. So everyone is just, you have to put everything in context and be able to process all of it and find out what is actually true for you right now in the moment.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And so I think about that, and like maybe it's not specifically true for you if you get that feedback, Matt, right? Because they're a product of their experiences, and we're all just a culmination of their experiences. But I think in their mind, it is true. It is real. And so then it becomes our duty as leaders to understand how they got there and really try to accept it as truth, whether it's truth or not.
Yeah.
And then we try to figure out a path to be able to recover from that and resolve from that, if that makes sense.
Here's another piece of leadership
That's coaching.
advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's another piece of leadership advice that's not on the list. What was it? I just had it in my head. It was, all right, it'll come back to me.
You'll come back. But now we got to talk about getting the fuck out of the way.
That is the last one. Number 4, get the fuck out of the way. So you're doing these things, and this is really meant to be like, it's part of the empowerment piece. It's truly get the fuck out of the way. Trust your team.
Yeah.
I don't have to check in on you I don't call you all throughout the weekend. Yeah. Hey, did you do that thing? Do this thing? No, man. We have our one-on-ones, and I know, and we have this relationship enough that if you need me, you call me. You have the discernment too to know the things that I should know and shouldn't know. But I get the fuck out of the way. I get asked all the time at FRSecure. People reach out to me like, "Hey, I applied for a job at FRSecure. Can you help me out?" I'm like, no.
Yeah,
but I really can't.
I mean,
you've got a team that does that, and I'm staying the fuck out of the way. I know what the hell they're doing.
I say in the same position now too. It's like people hit me up, and it's like I'm not involved in their hiring right now. I have leaders I trust that are involved in that, and we've established a process for being able to identify who those candidates are. And our process is different, and it's a process that's very dynamic, and I've never seen anyone else do it the same way. Yeah. And I trust it. I know it's right, and I trust my leaders are executing that process. And so for me, it's like, hey man, like, I can make sure you get a like pre-screen interview. I can do that. Right. I'll do that for you. But after that, you're on your own. And if you're a fit, like we'll find you. If you're not a fit, you're just not going to be a fit right now. And maybe sometimes it's not even a fit. Maybe you're not ready. We have that sometimes. So it's like, hey, go do A, B, and C. Come back and talk to me again in a year, and we'll go from there.
Do you guys do any sort of personality tests to help connect with your team, to kind of help?
We just have the no dickhead rule.
Like the Briggs-Meyer or the love language or these other ones that have wings and shit. Like
we do a very unstructured
how to connect with them.
Yeah. Well, as far as like a new hire process, it's a very like kind of abstract, but there is a part of our validation for being accepted to the team where we have a really weird interview where you're there with the team. And we're just going to talk through a pen test report together. We're going to have a conversation. We'll talk about other things too, like video games or sports or whatever you enjoy. But a lot of it is just, hey, let's just talk through something together. And maybe like we'll ask you some questions that we don't even expect you to know the answer to. We'll ask you some really high level shit. And a lot of that's just to see how you respond. Maybe I'm giving away some secrets right now, but that's okay. A lot of it is to see like, are you going to try to bullshit your way through this? Because I know you don't know it right now. Or are you just going to be honest with me and be like, man, I don't fucking know. And if you say that, that's 100 points. You know what I'm saying? Like you earn more from being willing and capable to like park the ego and be like, hey man, I don't know. I wish I did know. I feel like I should know, but I don't know. And it's like, hey, it's a great answer because none of us know everything. But there's a lot of layers to how we do that. And a lot of it is like kind of pointing some questions that people are very unexpected to what the meaning of those questions are, or they're confused if they should or shouldn't know something. And a lot of it is just to reveal traits about your personality. Are you going to bullshit me? Are you going to make something up? Are we going to hear you spit out an AI-driven answer? Like, we'll pick up on that. And if we know you're being dishonest with us, then probably not.
Just to show how out of the fuck of the way I am, I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
We don't do that for all
internship?
positions, to be fair. Sorry.
Did you watch the internship yet, Evan? You should watch that.
Internship?
Yeah, it's a movie.
Was that a show
from,
that you told me I was supposed to watch?
Yeah, it's a movie from the early 2000s with Vince Vaughn and that other dude. They're salesmen, but they apply for a tech internship at Google, and they're going through the interview process, and that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I'll check it out too.
But I think but now that I hear that, I mean, that's awesome because how important is it to get along with your team?
Oh, it's so.
We're going to spend so much time together. You know, we might end up in DEF CON for a week.
Yep. I
don't want your fucking drama.
No.
Yeah, man, I want your drama like to help you with it, but I don't want you to bring and make drama.
And it goes back to like what Matt had said before. Like we're all just the product of the combination of experiences that we've had, and we're all truly unique. And we all have something truly unique to offer to that team. And if we try to operate on an island at all times, and we're not going to reach our potential, right? And so we want people, and I'm not saying that we have to be in constant communication all day, every day. We want people to be comfortable and being open when it's like, hey man, I'm to a point and I don't know what to do. And no, that's okay. You know, never let the ego get in the way. And I will say that's like that part of the interview is not for every position that we have. But when we look at some of our more highly skilled positions, that is a part of that interview to make sure that you have that vulnerability and you're like, you know,
truth.
Like
our number one core value is we tell the truth. If you don't know the fucking answer.
And when I say vulnerability, it's not a bad thing. I mean, we talk about vulnerabilities in a different aspect, but this is being able to accept your vulnerabilities, right? And that's important to me. Like, I understand we're not all perfect. We don't all know it. We're not fucking wizards with magic swords and magic sticks. We're human beings who are trying to learn things together. We're trying to solve a problem. And we can only do so much isolated, but as a group, we can do a lot. Yeah. We can be very powerful.
Well, that's a cool thing about, you know, because as I'm thinking, I mean, I learn, that's the thing about leaders too. I think a lot of times people think that leaders are like, we have the answers for shit or whatever. I learn so much from the people I lead every fucking day. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. Every time I talk to John Harmon, I learn something new. Every time I talk to Megan, I learn something new. Yeah. Every time I talk to Eric, I learn something new. It's like, because they bring these perspectives. I don't know what it's like in the trenches with you. You're not there. You don't want me there either. I'm a shitty shot. I'm going to end up, you know, friendly fire. But
well, can you dig the
more
trench?
You share with
That's
me,
what really matters.
Yeah, right.
Can you dig it
the
for
trench?
Me?
It might be slow, but you could dig it, right?
But sharing that stuff with me, it inspires me. It makes me. So I think being as a leader, I think it's really important too for you to be open to learning.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's, you know, I'm in my second year as president of the company. And like I said before, like I was never a fucking ladder climber. I was a security dude. Yeah. That's what I did. And I only got to my position because I really loved what I did. And I think I have the ability to be a leader, and I recognize that. Man. And so, but for me, it's like, I still look back in the last year and a half, 2 years of my life. And it's like, have I learned? Holy fuck, man. I've learned so much. I'm learning so much every single day. I'm learning so much about like things I never had to think about before. Right. And it's like, so now it's like, getting to understand our marketing, getting to understand our sales process, understanding Vinay's job. Thank you, Vinay. I love you so much. And then like from John's business hack and his experience, like, and it's every single day I'm having conversations, like you said, with my peers and their other executives and even other business owners and business leaders. And it's like, and I see those who are the most successful are the people who have an open mind, and they're always willing to come into the room and either ask for help, tell you about a challenge they have, or just ask you for your opinion on things they're working on and accept your honest feedback. Don't come in looking for somebody to rub your shoulders and pat you on the back and tell you you're doing a great job. Look for that person who's going to give you a challenge. Look for the person who's going to poke holes in your plan, poke holes in your ideas, and help you find those faults. And like a lot of leaders have a hard time accepting that because, hey, I'm the president. I'm in this position because I fucking earned it and I know what I'm doing, so I don't need your feedback. And the moment you switch the mind to that is the moment you fail, because it's constantly important to be focused on your own personal growth, development, and understanding. And there's so many people around you who have so many experiences that they're willing to share and willing to help you with. And if you close your mind, man, you're going to be a shitty fucking leader.
Well, and good. That was the one listening to you, I just learned what the fuck I was forgetting.
Oh yeah. We're back to 3.5.
Yeah. I think good leaders welcome challenge. Challenge me.
Yeah.
If I said this, challenge me. Call bullshit. If you think it's bullshit, call bullshit. If you think, if you don't know why, ask me why.
Yeah.
There's no penalty for you questioning me.
Yeah.
Because just because I said something, like, we should do this, you don't just march off and do this.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not clear why, ask me why.
Yeah.
And you need to create that environment, because maybe I don't fucking know why.
Yeah. I will present ideas with this pretext a lot. Like, hey, I got an idea. This may be really stupid, but I don't know. Let's give it a spin. Or I'm going to tell you something. And if you think this is batshit crazy,
right,
tell me it's batshit crazy.
Right.
And then we'll figure it out.
Right. And I may even have a purpose. Like, when you ask me why, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Most of the things I do have a why, believe it or not. So I'll tell you why. And then you'll be like, well, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, fuck, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's that piece of the perspective, because you may find out that my idea, after we vet it out together and you keep challenging why, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Hey, and let's be honest, I think a lot of good ideas are like driven or created in a moment of pure tunnel vision, because you get hyper focused on this idea and this solution, and we're not able to even like constructively think about our own idea in a negative manner. And so if you don't have a peer group that you can trust to give you that honest, untethered feedback, then you're setting yourself up for failure, man, because you're going to get a bunch of ass kissers telling you you're doing everything right. You're going to go to market, you're going to try this out. And
run into the wall full speed.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, shit, I should have told you there was a wall there.
And so while I encourage a lot of my, security analysts and folks kind of coming up to be creative and not be afraid to make a mistake, as you're at your position as a leader, those types of mistakes can be monumental, right? And so
all the people are affected. And
we're still going to make mistakes, but if we make that mistake blindly without accepting inputs from the people that we trust, then it could be monumental. And there's why would we do that when we have the support group and the opportunity around?
The people over the years that have reported to me have saved me from myself more times than I can count.
Yeah.
Because we need to ask why.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing, as a leader, when you ask me why and the challenges come, all it does is either it tears down my thought, an idea, which is probably good if it should have been. Mm-hmm. But the other side of that is it also reinforces it.
Yeah.
Because the more you ask and the more you challenge it, the more you call bullshit, the more you just solidify the idea.
Yeah.
Can I defend my fucking idea?
Right.
Because just like everybody else, if you can't defend your idea, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up changing the subject, or you're going to attack my character. So the same thing holds true. If I can't come up with the logic or the reason to defend the idea that I have or the direction we're going, then maybe it's not defensible. Maybe it's a bad direction. Yeah. I mean, you have to, like, I've run out of logic and reason for this. I'm not going to change the subject as a leader. And I'm also not going to attack your fucking character. All right, we come to the conclusion it's a shitty idea. I mean, It was like that what we had to do with Security Studio.
Yeah.
When you guys came to me with your recommendation that this is what we need to do with Security Studio, it was the last fucking thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I do not want to do what you just told me we need to do. And as you challenged the why.
And to be fair, we didn't want to do what we knew we needed to do.
Right? That's the trust we had.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, logically, That's the right fucking call.
Yeah.
Hands down, no doubt about it, but we challenged each other.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like, well, why? What about this? We had, one person come kind of, well, I can just take it and fix it.
Yeah.
And I agree, you can, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Right. And so we talked through all of that. Man, it was such a fucking good exercise.
Yeah, it was.
Leadership.
And it was hard. It was a really hard exercise.
Oh, it sucked. But
I think it goes back to like, maybe we talk about like failures almost synonymously with challenging situations, like the moments that define us the most. And it's not always a failure. And those are the moments that offer us the most opportunity to learn and grow, and if you don't like open yourself up and you think that, hey man, I'm the boss, this is my decision, you just got to listen to me, then you're going to make poor decisions and you're not going to be a strong leader. You're not going to do what's best for the mission, for what you're working on, and your passion.
Which is different, Matt, to what the military, right? The military, you've been told to do something, fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to have
Yes,
you have to have that sort of command over your troops, because you're in a fucking battlefield and hesitation will get you killed.
It's
The cool
definitely
thing about business is you have time to think these things through. You're not going to die if you make the wrong call, probably.
Yeah, there's different levels too. Like you're in the infantry, you're a fire team leader, and definitely making a decision like that, someone's dying. Like me, I was in the communications area. If you having challenges making those decisions or you're not listening, someone could die like, down the road because you can't communicate, but it's not as direct, I would say. So there's definitely different. It's similar, but not as political.
Well, and
'Cause
that's
you
one of
don't-
the challenges I
Your
see
junior, the person you're talking to, like okay, you can have an opinion, but at the end of the day, I don't give a shit.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how you have to
Yeah.
lead to win in a battle.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of people transition from the military into the private sector, highly
It's
skilled
hard.
security people. It is hard because it's a different style of leadership. You can't lead the same way. And a lot of guys and gals and people struggle with that transition. You come out and you're like, the fucking policy says do this, do that. Well, that'd be great if
Yeah.
that's the way it works.
Or, we've had some really good folks, and folks who are still friends of mine today that, come from military background. And they come in, one of the first things they say is like, your fucking procedures suck, man. It's like,
Where's your desktop binder? Where's your turnover thing? Yeah, this is probably the hardest thing I'm going through right now is adapting to that. But on that, I wanted to add some principles. They're
One more thing
Marine
I want to
Corps
add
leadership
to this point.
principles.
Just really quick, Matt. One more
Okay,
thing I wanted to add to
fine.
this point is, no, because we have a lot of people that are in very high positions in this industry with military backgrounds. And then you wonder why their leadership style isn't working. I just want to point that out because there are,
Yeah, that's true.
look at CISA.
You don't really, I think, the one thing that you don't take from the military, because they don't help you at all. They just kick you out the door, say, fuck you. Empathy, or a lot of this stuff about feedback that we've been talking about, that you don't really get taught in most places that I saw. You could probably go to some leadership schools where they would teach it to you, but mostly like ground level, you didn't get taught that. So you transfer over, again, companies aren't training you. Here you go. So you have to go and seek it out on your own or find cool people like you guys to learn it from.
Because I'm super pro-military, man. I grew up military household, right? That
Mhm.
leadership style in that environment is absolutely fucking critical. I would never question the way the Marine Corps leads their troops, the way they lead their people.
Yeah.
But it's a different world when you talk about the private sector. And I see a lot of people struggling with that. And I think we can help. Like, it's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, so I grew up in a military family as well. My grandfather, all my uncles, my dad was the baby, so he was the only one who did get drafted to Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And so we still grew up with those military principles. And I never joined the military because Dad seen, just some impacts to his family and was like, hey, let's do something else for you. And I'm really, thankful for everyone who did serve. Absolutely. But it's still that, and something I've seen, and I don't know, this is as an outsider, just through my family and friends, is like, your military position is your identity, right? And so then when you come back to civilian world, like, you don't have that identity anymore. And like you said, Matt, they kind of just kick you out and say good luck. And so that transitionary period from like, yeah, I mean, you're always a Marine, but now you're a Marine who's forced to function and work in a civilian life is incredibly challenging for you and everyone. And so, yeah, that's something that I don't know. I can just look from the outside and say that's so fucking
And I think
so hard to do.
Being leaders in this industry, I think we can do a much better job helping them transition. Like, what's different? Because the leadership skills you have from the military are fucking valid.
Oh man, one of my
There's
best,
really important things like discipline.
one of my best incident responders I've ever worked with is a Marine as well.
Yeah.
And oh my God, like his structure and just his process and his the way he approaches like a critical incident is, I mean, and he told me, he's like, I haven't felt this feeling like since I was in the Marines with my
You
companions
search
there.
it out. It's crazy.
He's like, I feel a brotherhood here like I felt then. And
I've seen you, Matt, as my friend, struggle with some of this stuff too, right? I mean, it's just, it's what things translate well. What skills did you learn in the military that translate directly over to leadership skills in the private sector, and which things need to be tweaked a little bit, and which things need to be learned as new things.
I think the hardest thing, like Matt said, and I don't know, man, like it's just like the empathy and compassion. Like that's something that's not a part of your process at all. And that's something that today, like in private sector,
it's
like,
all about the mission.
Yeah.
It's all about the mission. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But
it has to be.
Yeah.
People die.
Yep.
Every
so
Marine's
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to run through some things real quick and just we'll do. We gotta be fancy. It'll be like a hot take. Just tell me if you think it would work in corporate or not. So it's just
I like this.
It's a ditty. So the Marine Corps has their leadership principles, and we call it JJ did tie buckle to help us remember the leadership traits. So the first one
did tie buckle. Is that what you said? All right. So let's go back and forth. You do what I do.
Okay. So the first one is justice.
Disagree.
First one's justice. Be transparent and consistent with rewards and discipline.
1,000%. Yeah.
Can't show up the favoritism. That's going to fucking...
And like with our clients and everyone we interact with, like you fucking better be transparent and honest with everyone.
And
judgment.
Consistent.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going too fast here. Judgment. Gather facts, assess risk, make decisive moves. Indecisive leaders create confusion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Dependability. Follow through on commitment, meet deadlines, and own your responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have that. We have a lot of these as values. And when I think about it, it's like we call it do whatever it takes. Right.
Hoorah.
Initiative. Leaders empower their teams to think and act independently. Yep. Decisiveness. Leaders who hesitate lose battles. Gather data, trust your instincts.
That one maybe a little bit more because I'm not on as much of a time crunch as somebody who's leading in battle.
Yep.
Sometimes I have the luxury, and it is a luxury, to think things through more, to seek more perspectives before I
think there are moments
because you're like planning stuff out.
But there are moments when making a quick decision and being confident in that decision are critically important.
Sometimes.
It's just not always. I think that is a truth for us, but just not for every situation.
And I think the higher up too, because one of the things that good leaders do is they feel the weight of their decisions. Like a decision that I make, it might seem inconsequential. But the fact of the matter is, people either benefit from the decision I make or they suffer from the decision I make at some level. And it may be, you may not even notice it. It may be catastrophic. I might drive the fucking business into the ground. And that's actually one of the big motivators for me going to see a therapist, is I know that the best version of me benefits everybody.
Yeah.
So there are times personally where I will take probably more time than I need to. Not because I am indecisive, but once I make the decision, it's set. But I have to get these
still
inputs.
Gathering.
I have to get these inputs. The worst decisions I've ever made in my career have been decisions out of context.
Mm-hmm.
There was an input that I didn't get, that if I would have taken the time to get that fucking input, it would have been a totally different outcome.
That's totally fair. I think there are still moments where we need to make a quick decision, and you have to be confident when you make that quick decision.
Yeah.
But that's like the point you bring up too, Matt, is something that I try to like coach all my young leaders on, is like when you make that decision, don't just think about the impacts to yourself and your team. Think about the impact to every other person in this company. Think about the impact to every other company, every client that we touch. And that's tough. That is a really challenging.
As you've raised through the ranks, I think the number of those quick decisions you need to make have become less.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think your next step, whether it be CEO, like you think of John doesn't have to make a lot of quick decisions.
No, it becomes kind of more mindful.
Yeah. So I think as you continue to raise up the ranks, like maybe a general, or as a general probably has to be less quick decision than maybe a lieutenant, or a captain, because you've got
I probably agree with that. Yep.
Yeah.
They're not battlefield, they're overseers. Yep.
Yeah. And
all
planners.
Right, we got a few more. Next one is tact. You can be direct without being a jerk. Emotional intelligence matters. This one's confusing
100%.
to me because we didn't really get taught that, but they talk about it. Or at least
I think this
didn't.
is
anyway.
The empathy piece, man, that maybe you're missing a little bit. Maybe it wasn't taught through the structure, but I agree with that. And I think that emotional intelligence is something where the best way, I can explain this very rudimentary. It's like when I'm in a room with someone and maybe they get feedback and they become very emotional, or maybe they hear something they disagree with and they become very emotional. And so if we try to coach over time, I will understand that like maybe they don't have the emotional intelligence yet that they need. And I think emotional intelligence to me is almost synonymous with maturity and emotional maturity, right? And again, it still culminates back to this idea of we are just a product of our experiences.
And for me as a leader, I equate my own emotional intelligence in these situations as read the fucking room.
Yeah.
Read the room. There are certain people that I can be very direct with. There are certain people that I can say, hey, get your fucking shit together. And there are other people where it's like, I got to walk alongside you a little bit. I'm still going to communicate the same thing. I'm just going to communicate it entirely differently.
Yeah. How I present information to people is very much related to how they're going to respond.
That goes back to the personality things. Do you know how they receive feedback and stuff like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Like Matt, you and I have had these discussions where I've been really, I've been really direct with you, and you take it like you just have this, you're able to take
Pretty
it.
Sure I don't like you. No,
I'm sorry. Kidding. Yes, you do. You love me. You say that.
Okay. Next one. Integrity. Do what's right even when no one's watching.
Yeah. 100,000%, man.
Yeah. Always tell the truth.
Enthusiasm.
Good leaders also recognize that everybody's fucking watching. Always.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody's always fucking watching you.
Yeah.
So if you think nobody's watching you,
you're
not reading the room because people are watching you.
Yeah. And I think on that one too, it's like always telling the truth, even when it's hard. That's something that we deal with a lot, where people don't want to hear the message that we're giving them, but you do it respectfully and help people understand this way back to them.
I've seen leaders fuck this up so many times too, because it's like, they do this, they come off like they're a person of integrity, a family man and all that shit. And they go on a business trip and they go to the fucking strip club.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? You do that shit. It's like something ain't jiving here.
Yeah, man.
You just contradict yourself.
Well, right. And you just eroded your integrity. If you want to be the person that goes out to the strip club, then always be the guy that comes off as going out to the strip club. And you're going to find that nobody's going to want to fucking follow that. So someone's got to give. That's one thing I love about hanging out with these guys. When I get to invite Oscar down here and Seth, it's like, this is what you get. And it's the same as what I'm getting. I'm like, they're not like, hey, when can we go to the strip club? When can we go get some, crystal meth and maybe fucking, No, man.
And you want to drink some beers and watch a ball game?
Yeah, we were swimming. I had a great time. And they respect the fact, like, these guys drink, but they're responsible with it. That's my problem. That's why I can't drink, right? I can't be responsible with it. And so
Me too.
I'm cool being myself with these guys and them being themselves. Like you said, like,
man, some of my best friends are alcoholics. We're
in the locker room. Don't hide your fucking drink. Yeah. It's okay, brother. You know what I mean? We have that transparency of like, this, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I really am as fucked up as you think I am.
Yeah, you may not love everything about
me. We have a few more to go.
No, we got time, man. This is our case.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. The other thing with the military is time.
Sure.
Time's like a thing.
I'm not good at that.
Enthusiasm. Every day, bring the energy, even when it's tough.
That one I
Some of
struggle
these-
with, man. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard. And I want people to be honest, man. Actually, I will disagree with that value because I want people to tell me, man, hey, if you're struggling and you just don't got it, and I think this also could relate to the military. If your fucking head's not in it today, something's wrong with you, your mind's not right, let's get you out of here. Let's get you a little break. Let's figure out how to get you back into it. I don't want forced enthusiasm. I don't want toxic positivity because that thing's a bunch of fucking bullshit and it leads to other problems where people are just not what we were just talking about, honest with each other and transparent with each other and who we are. If you force positivity, like that could be, to me, detrimental.
And we've
Just
all
send
seen
them
leaders,
home then.
Yeah, we've all seen leaders that
Let
had
them
that
recover.
fake, those leaders that had that fake enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody's watching. They know it's fake. If you think they don't know it's fake, they know it's fucking fake.
Yep.
And when they know it's fake, you're eroding your own trust, your own credibility.
I
Fake.
I probably, each year, I would say I have 5 to 6 conversations with people, and it's never in front of anyone else, but it'll be, hey, let's catch up after this. And typically I see you're trying to be here. I see you're trying to be positive right now, but like, hey man, I can tell you're a little off.
Right.
Like, are you okay? And then typically they'll open up like, I'm just stressed because A, B, and C. I'm having a hard time. And then my answer is always like, send me the meetings you need me to cover. Like, send me the emails, the things you need me to cover for you. And I want you just to get the fuck out of here today.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow too.
Well,
tell me how you're feeling.
That was
Let's
the
come
word
back and try again.
that was the word I didn't like, and that was enthusiastic or enthusiasm, because I can always be positive.
Yeah.
I can be having the shittiest fucking day ever and be depressed and come to a meeting and still find something positive to say.
Yeah.
That's not fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fucking a wreck right now. But I believe in what you're doing. I think you got the capabilities to do it, so let's go fucking do it. I can do that shit. But yeah, if I'm struggling, man, my people need to know I'm struggling. I've told you many times when I'm struggling, man, it's like, fuck.
So that's one so far we don't think fits.
Yeah.
We got
I like the positivity,
5.
though, not the enthusiasm.
Yeah. Okay. Bearing. Leaders don't panic in crisis. They stay cool. Lead and inspire.
So fucking lutely.
Yeah. Nothing to say.
Unselfishness. Remove roadblocks for people. Give credit, take blame. We talked about that one.
Get the fuck out the
Courage.
way, right?
Courage. Speak up. Make tough calls. Back up your people.
Yeah. I think that shit rolls uphill. You got to make those tough calls, have those tough conversations when they need you to the most. So, yeah.
I've had people tell me over the years, people that worked for me. One was Steve Marsden. Remember Steve?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Fuck, I love Steve. I miss Steve. But, just things happen.
You talk about a dude with a work ethic.
Oh, my God.
Steve.
And skilled.
Yeah.
Knew what the fuck he's doing. Still does. Just doesn't, not with us. The one thing Steve would always say to everybody about me is, if you ever see Evan panic, it's time to panic, because that was the thing. But you have this perspective of like, at the end of the day, man, nobody's going to die.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot too with, in our incident response work and stuff too, and giving perspective to our responders and understanding like, hey man, these people you're working with are having the worst day of their career. In some of these cases, like if we're talking about a full ransom event, they ain't got no backups, they've been burned too. It's like they're having the worst day of their career. Like, you can provide a lot of value and probably the most value by just being a calming voice in the room.
I remember this incident response I was on, big bank.
Yeah.
And I don't talk about the details of this incident response work much, but I remember when I showed up and I was leading the incident response, and they were upset with me. They were upset with me because I wasn't. They're like, "Do you even care?" I'm like, "Yeah, I care. Why do you think I'm here?" Well, you need to show you care more. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, well, you're not panicking. I'm like, would it fucking help you if I was panicking? Is that the kind of leadership you want in this incident response?
And like, this ain't my first rodeo. This is why you call. Remember the wolf Pulp Fiction? Like, I'm the wolf right now. He called the wolf in. So I'm the guy who's going to keep you calm. So we didn't.
Well, and as a leader, right? We've been in these situations before where, and that's why you try to share wisdom. Like, I know what it's like to do. I know what it's like to fucking panic. It's not like I've never fucking panicked before.
Yeah.
But I would appreciate if you can learn not to, because without actually doing it, maybe you're going to have to anyway, but I can tell you the outcome of when you do panic in incident responses and and the outcomes are. But
don't panic when Matt ditches you scuba diving, apparently.
He did, yeah. And I ended up floating out like 600 meters or half mile down. I'm like, come up and like, where the fuck is it? I still love you though.
That is a That's
I didn't panic. I didn't panic, and you didn't panic either. And I still love you.
I think that panic is a product of worry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes back to saying, my wife says a lot, it's like, worrying is a lot like sitting in a rocking chair.
Mm-hmm.
You do a lot of moving, but you don't go anywhere. And so I always try to think about that.
Well, going back to that perspective thing, when you actually can put events into perspective, you realize that they're not as big a deal as you think they are.
Yeah.
Like my son was just buying a house, right? Just closed on his new house today, and he was all stressed out because the housing thing and shit. And being that I had lost my house in the early days of FRSecure and everything, I'm like, in perspective, it's not a big fucking deal. It seems like it's the biggest fucking deal ever right now, but it's not.
You'll look back at it with...
It'll be a learning experience. You'll be grateful that you went through it. But
all right, I got 3 more for you guys.
We're sharing so much wisdom, bro.
Yeah, it's awesome. Knowledge. Never stop learning. Study leadership, industry, and your team.
Yeah, we're talking about that a lot.
Loyalty. Leaders don't throw people under the bus. They protect, support, advocate.
I would take.
And then
I
the
would
last
literally
one.
Take a bullet.
I have a feeling we'll disagree on this last one. Endurance. Push through challenges. Stay committed even when things get tough.
No, I agree with that.
That's like a point. And it goes back to if I see somebody in burnout. I feel that kind
of causes burnout.
Yeah, if I see somebody in burnout, I'm going to fix that. But also, when we're in the moment,
it's going to continue.
Yeah, the team's
there are some people that have to go take timeouts and get themselves right. But
yeah, they're definitely. And again, I think it's just different from the idea of the battlefield mentality versus the private sector mentality. Whereas there will be moments in the private sector where, hey, and we've all been there, man. I know it's dude, I've put in those 2 weeks straight to recover from a major incident, and I'm burning the midnight oil. I'm getting 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep for days on end. Willing to commit that. Is it healthy for me? Fuck no. But on the flip side too, it's if I see someone even in that moment and we have the team, it's go get a break, go take care of yourself, come back. And then we're all through this. We're going to figure out how to, and I'll do this a lot for my incident response team where it's hey, we had a really tough month, worked a lot of cases. Let's figure out over the next month how everybody gets 2-3 days extra off, and you get to unwind and recover and come back. So I think in moments that's true, but I don't fully support that 100%.
And I think for the team, it's always true.
Yeah.
But it's just if you were going to battle, right? The team that's going to bring the best is the team that's the healthiest.
Yeah.
And there are times when there are people on your team that just need to break.
Yeah.
Go get some rest. Go come down to Mexico. Come hang out. Go
fishing, man.
Whatever it takes, right? Because you also realize that there are certain people on your team that have higher tolerance for things. The balance for them is different than others. For me, balance might be 80 hours a week. And for another player on the team, the balance might be 40 hours a week. The mistake that you make sometimes as a leader is you put more value on the 80 than the 40, and that's bullshit. It's just 2 different team players with different...
Or you try to set the bar at the 80, I see sometimes. It's well, so-and-so can do this much in a week. Why can't you do that? And everyone's different, man. Balance is different for everyone.
So,
passion, motivation.
And I think as a leader, if you understand your team and you understand those dynamics, we can... Because we do this. From this perspective, right?
We do. I'm sorry, you said do.
I do it earlier.
Did you say do or do?
I'm taking these probiotics, 100 billion.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Is that bidet helping with your do?
Maybe. Hey, here's a thing. Trivia question. What does CFU stand for when you look at the 100 billion CFUs on your probiotic bottle?
I've never looked at my probiotic.
Per unit. Last one's unit, I bet.
I would agree. I have no idea.
Can't remember the C anymore. Culture forming units.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Positive bacteria.
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally disrupted you though, man.
But again, it comes from we were talking about the levels, right? The general has the mission is the mission.
I think it's the colony forming unit.
It is colony. You're right. Yeah. I couldn't remember the C. You're absolutely right. But
call you on your bullshit, Evan.
But I gave in. I learned.
But you're right. I think the mentality.
I'm telling everybody we can.
But I totally agree that you have to go for the mission because that's the purpose.
Yeah, let's get man. Let's call you out if he wants to.
Yeah. I don't have to listen either. You have this mission, right? And so from that perspective, but you always gotta if I ever sense that, because I don't manage your teams.
Yeah,
I manage. And I don't really even manage you directly. I mean, I do. You're my buddy. I mean, I fucking love you. I would do anything, and we're in this together and all that. But if I ever sensed, and you do the same for me, by the way.
Absolutely.
If I ever sense that there's something off, like you're burnt out, if you ever told me you're burnt out, it's like, all right, rest.
What are we doing to get better? What's your recovery plan?
I need you healthy. I mean, a soldier on the battlefield who ain't healthy,
they're going to make a mistake. It's crucial.
And that's the military's actually started to do a lot better job on that. I think they've been starting to pay attention a lot more to mental health. Mm-hmm. I really like that.
They're working on it. You think about just like your organization and now try to perceive a military branch. It's just it matches.
There's so many moving pieces.
Yes, two totally different worlds. Absolutely.
And I think the military, especially the Marine Corps, because I remember the Marine Corps from my early days, it's a lot more, I think there's a lot more emphasis on health of your soldiers than there used to be, which I think is a positive.
There's a lot of really good organizations too. I meant to bring this up earlier, and we were talking about the transition from military to civilian life, and just a couple of places, like in case our listeners have never heard of them, if they are going through the transition, that I fully support. But one is Wounded Warriors in Quiet Waters, who I'm talking to right now. They're based in Montana, and they essentially talk about what, that transition from, military to civilian life and how hard that is. And they focus on trying to find identities, right? And help you put you in a space to be able to find the identity of who you're going to be in the civilian life.
Identities.
Titties. I did say titties. Yeah.
What was that called again?
Wounded Warriors in Quiet Waters. And the other organization is called Project Healing Waters. And if you haven't heard about those and you're going through that transition, I would say to check them out. I know that Project Healing Waters has chapters all over the United States. I think Wounded Warriors in Quiet Waters. I know they're in Montana. I don't know where else they are, but I do know I have a personal friend who's based in like the Tri-Cities, Tennessee, and he was able to go through their program in Montana and talked to him about it, and he said it helped him a ton and being able to transition. That actually helped him not only find his identity, but set him on his career path. And so there are some tools out there. I just want to give a shout out in case people are struggling through that transition, to check those places out, and maybe they can help give you support through that.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're military, private sector, never lose focus of what you're leading. You're leading people. People have thoughts, people have dreams, they're people. Fucking treat them like people.
Yep.
And that's how you win.
Absolutely. All right, this has been fun. I got to pee, man.
Yeah, this has been a great episode, man.
So I wanted to close out because, if we're touching on the military thing, tactical leadership. So we talked about, some basic military concepts, and we're talking with business owners, leaders here, and they agree that 13 of these 14 principles fit in the corporate world. So I want you to, embrace the skills that you have. You can find something. We put some links in the chat for you to find some resources. I'm here to help. Remember, tactical leadership, delegate with intent, adapt your style, remove roadblocks, lead from the front like you were taught in the military, and we will all be successful.
That's a great message,
Simplify.
man. And like I said, man, before, honestly, one of the best incident responders I've ever worked with has transitioned from military to civilian life. And your skills are so valuable, especially in our space that we're working today.
Amen. All right. A good episode, as always.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Good to talk to you, man. Thanks to you, Evan. This has been great. Brother. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Again. All right.
I'm a lover. I love y'all.
Love you too.
And